All right, folks, we are about 3 hours away from the start of the 2017 NFL season. The game tonight obviously has nothing to do with these Seahawks, but it's still the start of the season, so let's get into it. We're 3 days away from the Seattle season opener in Green Bay against the Packers, and we've all had a few days to digest those final roster cuts, those final depth chart decisions, the final moments where you see your team set up for the regular season. So there were some surprises, there were some moves of significance, so let's try to break it all down. I made a video about the Sheldon Richardson thing, and that was just the first domino. It was the biggest domino by far, but it was not the last one. So we acquire Sheldon Richardson, and we follow that up by trading for Justin Coleman. I think that was the move that immediately followed that one. 7th-round pick for Justin Coleman from the Patriots, which obviously now he's made the team, and offhand, I like it. I like it. To me, this team on defense, you look at this defense this year, and you're just like stacked, stacked, stacked. I like that position. I'm good at that position. I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. Everything on this defense is set except for cornerback depth. You know Richard Sherman's going to show up this year. You know Sherman's going to play well. I mean, last year he played pretty well, even though he played hurt for most of the season or half the season. So I'm not worried about him. But then you've got Jeremy Lane, who has been a disappointment ever since he got his big contract. You've got Nico Thorpe, who I don't really think he has it, but I've been proven wrong before with these guys. I didn't really think Byron Maxwell had it. I didn't think Brandon Browner had it. You've got Shaquille Griffin, who is a rookie and got picked on in the preseason because he's a rookie. I'm not upset at him, but still, he's a rookie. And you eventually got Deshaun Shedd, who I like, but we don't know how he's going to come back. So that is the one area on this defense where you could see things not working out. And for us to just take a shot at a guy who we like. Pete Carroll spoke at length about Justin Coleman in one of his press conferences and talked about how he liked him. And he thought very highly of his cornerback skills. So I like that. You can't go too wrong with trading a 7th-round pick for a dude who might actually play for you. And we just need to keep taking shots at the dartboard until we don't need a bullseye, but we need to get close. We need a good score. And I don't know if Jeremy Lane is going to be the guy who gets us to a good score. I don't know if it's Griffin. I don't know if it's Coleman. I don't know if it's Thorpe. I don't know if it's eventually Shedd. I don't know if it's going to be someone else. But it's got to be somebody, and we just need as many darts as we can get. We also traded Cassius Marsh to the Patriots for a 7th-round pick and a 5th-round pick. I'm bummed, but then again, I'm not, because I think most Seahawks fans appreciated Cassius Marsh. They understood that, that first year he got hurt. Second year he played a bunch of special teams and did his best in defensive situations. And last year he actually became a little bit of a pass rusher and played pretty well. But on the one hand, you hate to lose a guy like that, somebody who has a good motor, somebody who seemed to be improving, somebody who was trying hard. But the other side of that is, guys, that tells me that we just thought we were never going to be able to play the dude, because we are not hurting for defensive end depth right now. And after the Sheldon Richardson trade happened, I think this team realized that if they wanted to improve on the defensive line, what they needed was to improve the defensive tackle spot, not the defensive end spot. The end spot is good. So we had to make a decision. We didn't get to keep both guys between David Bass and Cassius Marsh, and I'm not saying I completely agree with the decision to take Bass over Marsh, if that was the decision that was made, but it's not absurd. I mean, both those guys had pretty good preseasons. Both those guys have limited talent, but they produce reasonably well, and because of the other dominoes that moved, you just needed to add a little more in the defensive tackle area and take something out of the defensive end area. And not only that, Marcus Smith II, the first-round bust from Philadelphia, we liked him so much in the preseason. He's in the mix as well to maybe play some defensive end this year. And if that happens, then really there's no room on this team for a guy like Cassius Marsh, who I like the guy. He's a good player, but he's just another guy. He's a jag. And a guy like Marcus Smith, as bad as he's been in Philadelphia, as disappointing as he was in his 2 seasons, that dude was a first-round pick. That dude has way more talent than Cassius Marsh will ever have, and sometimes coaches just see talent. Coaches look at the talent and are like, I value this more than a lack of talent that tries harder. I'll try to coach him up to the point where he produces at a level commensurate to his talent, but I will take that chance. So between David Bass and Marcus Smith, there just wasn't a lot of room. But it still kind of sucks to see a homegrown dude who was coming along get shipped out. And he could make us look dumb. He could keep improving for all we know. We also traded for, I think his name is Tony Battie from Kansas City, offensive lineman. Hopefully he doesn't play. Straight up, I don't really think too much about that one. But other cuts. This one, I don't know about. Tuba. Atba Rubin. We grew to like that dude a lot over the last 2 seasons, and be it because of the Sheldon Richardson trade or because we just felt like he was losing it or we just weren't happy with him this preseason, he's gone. And we didn't get nothing for him. We just let him walk. We just said, good luck in your next NFL stop if you can find one. And I grew to really enjoy that guy's play over the last couple of years, and I have to question this one a little bit, but then again, it's not really a shock that a guy like Rubin would see his production just, bottom out at a certain point. He is getting up there in age. He has been in the NFL for quite a few years now, and the run defense was not exactly stellar this preseason, so I can absolutely see the coaches looking at Rubin in this preseason just being like, he doesn't have it anymore. Because he was good last year, he was not great like he was that first year here. So, Rubin, gone. We do need another defensive tackle on this team. I believe that guy is coming from, the cut list of another team or maybe in a trade. I do believe we need one more guy, but Nazir Jones, you earned your roster spot. Go out there and do something with it. I was impressed with you in the preseason. If you produce like that this season, we're not going to be missing Rubin for shit. Other significant cuts. Pierre Desir, who played really good at cornerback for us in the preseason, gone. Which, we might end up living to regret not having a good cornerback on this team if Sherman ends up being the only dude who can hack it this year. Kason Williams, a surprising one, but really when you think about it, when you get past the emotion, when you get past the fact that you were rooting for him subconsciously because he's awesome, he runs one route in the NFL, the jump ball, and other than that, he doesn't give you anything of any special merit in the NFL, and he gets injured too much. So a coach is just going to pick a dude like Amara Darboh over that. Even though Darboh got injured in the preseason, we spent a draft pick on that dude. And a coach will believe what they saw on tape that made him spend a draft pick on that dude. More than they do in a guy like Kason Williams who got cut by Seattle many, many times and occasionally camped in our practice squad. And, good for him. He's found a home in Cleveland for the moment. But, yeah, it was tough to see him go, but when you think about it, it just makes sense. So, those are pretty much the major things that came out in terms of the cuts and the keeps. There are probably a few other things. Alex Collins was released, which I expected. Mike Davis got released, which was sad, but there was no room for him on the roster. Quentin Jefferson got released, which shows he really just wasn't doing it because there was room on this team for a good defensive tackle backup. Joey Hunt, released. 2016 draft looking a little worse every couple weeks, but Ethan Posick, man. Ethan Posick was so versatile in this preseason. We were just like, okay, we're good. These other marginal guys we had sticking around, we don't need you anymore. So this is our team, guys. This is the 53-man roster, and I would love the NFL to go up to a 55-man roster or a 57-man roster, but we had to make some tough decisions. And our team right now, you cannot be dissatisfied without it. Even with the losses on the defensive line, this is a defensive line that is the envy of every other team in the league. Even though we let some cornerbacks go and we have some questions at cornerback, our secondary as a whole, every other team in the league would kill to have our secondary. So the things you complain about, you're ultimately complaining about losing your 5th defensive end, your 4th cornerback, your 10th offensive lineman. Those are the pieces that are getting moved around. So to say anything other than this team should do phenomenal things this year would be to overreact dramatically to a couple of somewhat surprising but ultimately understandable cuts. So the team this year, there are 3 things that you're really looking at right now if you're me. 1 on offense, 1 on defense, 1 on special teams. 3 things that can hold the team back. Offensively, offensive line, of course. Mostly the right side of that offensive line. Jermaine Ifedi, Mark Lewinsky. I did not like what I saw in that last preseason game, and they were playing mostly backups. So if anybody can sink this season from the inside out, it would be those 2 guys. I'm happy with Britt. I'm happy with Yokel. I like Yokel. Odiambo played pretty well so far. I'm going to give him a chance based off what I saw in the preseason. I'm going to take it easy on that dude. But those 2 guys, you guys could screw this whole thing up. Get your shit straight. Play like you played in the Kansas City preseason game, and everyone's going to be good. Defense. Like I said, 2nd cornerback. RCB. Right cornerback. Who's it going to be, guys? Jeremy Lane, I was not impressed with him last year. Shaquille Griffin, he's a rookie. Justin Coleman, he just got here. Nico Thorpe, I just don't see it. Maybe somebody we don't have on the roster yet. Maybe Deshaun Shedd gets back later this year. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers and, forget Aaron Rodgers. Forget even Jameis Winston. I don't want to see Jared Goff just picking on the right side of the field all game long and that dude just not being able to keep up. I don't want to see that because the rest of this team is ready to go. And finally, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Until he starts doing it in situations that matter, I'm not going to have 100% faith in Blair Walsh. I was impressed with him in the preseason, and I'm most of the way there. I'm 90% of the way there with Blair Walsh, but I got to get to that last 100, that last 10%. He's got to do it in a real game. And I'm going to talk more about the Green Bay game specifically in a future video, but these are our guys. It's a really good team, a lot of talent, a lot of production over the last few years, a lot of guys that we know are badasses, and we should enjoy this while it's here because I'll say it right now. I've been reading some stuff online, and who knows what the hell's going to happen, but next year, Jimmy Graham, almost certainly gone. Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, they might not be here. Jeremy Lane, I definitely think won't be here. Not that that's a huge loss. Who knows what's going to happen to a guy like, well, okay, Britt got his contract extension, but guys like even Luke Yokel, who really impressed me in the preseason, and I know he just got here, but that guy might not be here next year. One area of strength in the offensive line. So let's appreciate what we have. Let's get ready to enjoy this season. I'm out of here. Go Hawks.